Hi, everyone. Come along to record an audiobook with me. This is the second book in the series. We just recorded the book called Charlie's Story, and then we're going back in time and starting with book one. The theme of the book is kind of Harry Potter fantasy meets Halloween town in the south of Texas. So I picked my page tabs and pens to match the theme of that Halloween essence. We're in the middle of summer right now, but I figured I'd be getting started on recordings around October, so it would be perfect. The way that I use these tabs, along the top of the book, I mark anything pronunciation-wise that I want to clarify with the author. And then along the side, I mark every time a character speaks for the first time in the chapter, so I know what voices to prep whenever I sit down to record. And luckily, the author and I both live in the same city, which was really nice. So we met up for like a lunch meeting to discuss story, creativity, inspiration, the vision for the story and the future of the book. And really just have a little powwow, which is nice. Zoom is great, but nothing really beats that face-to-face interaction. And then I sat down to continue reading through the book. When I was about halfway through recording, the author decided to put pause on book two while we got book one fully situated. And so I went ahead and I set that book aside. And coincidentally, at that exact same time, another author reached out to me to record her book. So that was serendipitous. I went ahead and picked up her romance novel that is, a Hollywood version of her love story, which I thought was really sweet that she's trusting me to tell her story for her. And it was the same process. I met with her, I read through the book, I marked all the pages, and I got to recording. The editing process always takes a while, so I like to listen to music that kind of gets me in the mood of whatever's happening with the book. And before I start recording, I lay down some sample tracks of the character voices to get approved by the authors before I move forward. The last thing you want is to give a voice to a character that really matters to them and then have them hate that voice. And, now what are you going to do? Go back and re-record everything that has that voice in it? So I like to give them sample tracks ahead of time. Speaking for such extended periods during the day invites a lot of tension into the throat, the vocal cords, the chest, so I need to remind myself to take a break, stretch things out, massage things out, so I'm resetting my vocal cords, which my doctor taught me how to do. I know it looks weird. While we're on the topic, being in touch with your breath is so important. If you're into yoga, you've heard this a million times, or anything else that's spiritual, but breath work is very important, and you'll start to see how important it is the more you're speaking. So if you guys are interested, I have a holotropic breathing video up on my YouTube page that is just a really nice way to, kind of get into a breathing practice during the week. One of my considerations whenever I'm laying down tracks for character voices is I'll thumb through the book to look at the chapters and see which characters come up in the same chapter or even in the same scene or have dialogue together most frequently throughout the book. That way, whenever I'm laying down character voices, I can make sure to draw a contrast between the characters that are heard next to each other more often. The way that I like to structure myself with voiceover is to have a lot of different types of projects coming through my door all the time. And when it comes to audiobooks, I like to keep my audiobook recordings to 2 audiobooks at a time. So I can focus on the story, I can allow my energy to really get invested in that long-term format without dividing my attention and creativity too much. And just around the time that I was finishing up the romance novel, the original author that I started working with came back and said, let's go full steam ahead and continue on with the second book in his series. So that's what I did. We're around Halloween time now, so it was really nice to sit down and, feel the Halloween spirit as I was reading through this. One of the most important things whenever you're starting to do audiobook recordings as a narrator is to figure out your structure. Structure. Recording an audiobook is a long-term project in voiceover. Most voiceover projects you can turn around in 30 minutes or an hour. It's not often that you have something that's very long-term. Audiobooks take place over a series of months. So you want to make sure you know exactly how you're going to approach it and how you're going to measure yourself. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So I like to make space for myself. I like it to feel like a weekend where I have nothing to do but sit down and enjoy a good book as I'm reading through it. And once you do this a few times, you'll really get a sense for how long it takes you to get through a chapter, how long it takes you to edit. And I like to give my clients deliverables in chunks of 4 or 5. So this is really a good second tip, communication with your client. It would be so easy for them to hand their book over to you and then they don't hear from you for months while you're working away at it. And on your end, it feels like you're doing a lot for their book, but to them, it's crickets. And then imagine handing them a completed audiobook and they don't like something in the book of a perspective that you took. What are you going to do? So having good communication is so important. So like I said, I have a meeting in the beginning, I read through, we have another meeting to talk about the character voices and any questions about the story that I had. And then during the process, they're getting deliverables of chapters from 4 to 5 chapters at a time every couple weeks. So they are able to listen along. If there's anything big that they want to make a change with, they can let you know way earlier than a completed audiobook, so you can, take a pause and address any changes that you need to do then. And then by the time you guys reach the end of the novel, both of you were on track with each other with good communication, and it really is a collaborative piece of art that you've put together. And that's really about it. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for coming along. I'll see you next time.